Hey guys, this is Poohead189, and this is a low-effort question and answer video on my Dragon Ball opinions. You guys ask me and I answer, of course. Firstly, I'll start off by reiterating these are just my opinions, and many of you will disagree with me on them. That's just how it be. So don't take it personally, please. I was also going to make a joke about how 40 of you wanted to find out who the hottest Dragon Ball girl was, in my opinion, but no one asked it. I was going to say you had one shot. One opportunity, but 20 minutes before I logged in, someone asked it, so I guess you'll hear it here first. Anyway, this video is just for Dragon Ball opinions. Either this weekend or next week I'll do a Q&A where you can just ask me anything pertaining to me, but this is a Dragon Ball Z channel, so let's get started. Also, since I'm technically on break, this will not be scripted and will have very little editing, so I might pause and the audio might not be seamless. Hope you don't mind. Alright, with all that being said, let's start. Now, most of you did not listen to me when I told you to type down how your username should be said, so if I butcher it, don't hate me. Man, there are a lot of questions. Alright, okay. AGP Music Official asks, would Dragon Ball Z ending after the Cell Saga have been better? However you want to interpret that, or even a break for a while. I don't know. The Buu Saga is admittedly my least favorite saga, but I also think it is good. And I think that if it had ended with Cell, then I wouldn't have been able to see Goku or Vegeta in Super Saiyan 2. You know, I wouldn't see Tien in his cool new outfit. You know, you'd miss out on a lot. But at the same time, maybe it would have thematically been better to end it there. I wish I could give a better answer to that, but I'm not entirely certain. Okay, Spanguli asks, do you believe that the story as a whole could have benefited from better power scaling across all the Z fighters? As someone who likes Dragon Ball more than Z for its approach to side characters growing alongside Goku, it seems that all the time spent developing those characters was wasted and forgotten over the course of Z. I'm not saying Tien and Krillin need to be able to kill Cell, but could they not be made strong enough to contribute to a fight with their own unique set of skills? At the beginning of each saga, when all the Z-Fighters get together to talk about the new bad guy, Goku will always see the non-Saiyan guys and say something like, wow, you guys have gotten really strong, just for them to stand in a group and watch Goku go on fight the main villain. Or they attack once and get one-shotted before standing around and spectating from Kami's lookout. Obviously, the ridiculous Super Saiyan multiplier makes scaling the humans impossible, but as a fan of these OG characters, I would have liked to see them contribute more to the fights than just being an emotional catalyst for a new Super Saiyan form. I think people liked seeing Tien hold off Cell because, for once, a character who isn't a Saiyan or Piccolo actually did something without ending up face down beneath a pile of rubble. Can Yamcha really do nothing? With the series' own scaling, he should be able to destroy a planet, so why not write a use for one of the first guys Goku ever teamed up with? A lot more specific thoughts and examples come to mind, but I feel like I've gotten my idea across. I feel a bit like Frieza getting sick of seeing so many Saiyans all the time. Okay. I've said that, obviously I haven't told you guys yet, but I've said this plenty of times. I think Toriyama did very well with power scaling, considering that he made a new chapter every week. And he had a very stringent work schedule. I'm gonna probably say this multiple times because people are asking me story stuff, but I'm a professional author. You know, I've now, at this point, I've had numerous things published. I've been working on writing for 13, 14 years now. And I know how difficult it can be. But at the same time, would I have liked it to have been better? Dude, of course. I would love for that. I do think that Yamcha, Krillin, and Tien, and Chaozu too. I don't know why people always ignore Chaozu. I think all four of them should have been able to get a bit more. Maybe even Yajirobe. I mean, past him helping out with Vegeta, which was a baller moment. He was just sitting there up in Korin Tower. I wish there was more they were able to do. Hold on, let me, I bet Yamcha would have a unique skill set, and Krillin too. I mean, I think Krillin and Tien both were able to showcase their unique skill set like once or twice. Krillin with the solar flare and the destructo disc combo against Frieza, and of course Tien with his Neo Tri-Beam. Yeah, no, you're right. I believe that the story could have benefited from better power scaling, yes. But I also don't blame Toriyama for not being great at that. I think it would have had to have been a different story, and you would have had to take away certain characters in order to allow that. Now, is that something that I would think is a good trade-off? Maybe, maybe Vegeta or Piccolo should have taken a backseat more, and maybe it should have been more Tien, Krillin, and Yamcha and Chaozu. Yeah, I think so. Okay, Axles and Gears asks, if you have read any Dragon Ball fanfiction, what's your most favorite one you've ever read? Man, that's a tough one. I don't read a lot of fanfiction. And honestly, I think the most fanfiction I've ever read was actually for Inuyasha. Even though Dragon Ball is my favorite series ever. I think... Man, but what's my favorite? I don't know if Dragon Ball Multiverse counts, because that's a pretty good one, at least most of the time. I will say this. The last year, I've gotten back into the fanfiction world for Dragon Ball a little bit. And I've only ever written one fanfiction before, and that was back in 2010, 2011. And just this past year, I've become friends with a few groups on Twitter that are all big fanfiction writers. And, you should probably check them out. There's Sun-chan, Lusta, let's see. Sammy, I'll need to type these names down somewhere for you guys to check it out. But a lot of sort of relationship fanfics, and I'm not the biggest shipper, but I can appreciate some. But since I am a writer, I was in a space which is essentially a Twitter call, and someone there, I think it was Sun-chan, challenged me with writing a weird pairing, and so I've actually written a fan fiction with Goku pairing with Marin, which is Krillin's ex-girlfriend Marin from Filler from the Garlic Jr. saga. And I've actually started writing that, and that's pretty cool. But that's not really answering your question, though. My favorite one I've ever read. I don't know. I'm sorry. I wish I could give you a better answer for that. But how about this? Later on, I'll probably make a video on that and answer it a bit better when I've been able to search my thoughts better and I've read more. But yeah, I can't really give a great answer for that right now. But I am getting back into the fanfiction world. Okay. Siunami asks, I wish there was stakes in Dragon Ball Z. Everyone can die, be revived, die, be revived, die, be revived, and that makes it boring. If they're struggling in a fight, it doesn't even matter, and you don't feel scared for them, unlike Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan, you are full of suspense because everything is so permanent. Well, it's not really a question, but I will comment on that. I think there is some problems with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z when it comes to stakes, but I also think that that's kind of overdone to say there is no stakes. There's been plenty of times when the Dragon Balls don't work. When King Piccolo killed Shenron, when Piccolo died in the Saiyan saga, when the Earth was blown up with Kid Buu. And I will say that Attack on Titan, unlike Dragon Ball, does not deal with world-shattering, galaxy-shattering, and universe-shattering threats. And so sometimes the stakes are even higher than that. So it's really hard to say. And plus, the Dragon Balls do have rules. I mean, yeah, Toriyama does ass polls and makes it so the rules, can be changed. But at the same time, they do make rules, and until looking back on the series now, we can now say, oh, it's whatever Toriyama wants. But at the time, I bet it was pretty suspenseful. Okay, Plusa1268 asks, not a question, okay, but wanted to point this out. Dragon Ball games seem to forget about Tarble, Hachiak, and Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta and Broly. Raging Blast 2 is like the only game with these as characters. Yeah, true. It's same with Sparking Zero. They don't have a lot of original Dragon Ball characters. I hope they add a bunch more with very cheap DLC. Okay. Voice under the covers. Hello, I recognize your name. Do you think Toriyama is good at romance, even if he himself says he isn't? I think Krillin and 18 and Gohan and Videl were excellently executed personally. Let's see. I think Toriyama... Okay. Like I said, as a writer and author myself, there are things that I know I'm not very good at. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that I can't make a good showing of it, if that makes sense. Like, I think I'm very bad at intrigue when it comes to stories, and yet I still write very intrigue-laden stories. And so I work on it a lot. And I think there have been plenty of twists and like Machiavellian machinations or blah, 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 in my own stories, and I think I've done well in it, but that still is not a strong suit for me. So I think it's kind of the same with Toriyama. I think that Toriyama is very off the cuff, very easy to... what am I trying to say here? I think it just goes with what flows right, and sometimes that really does work with romance. And like me, I'm a natural at writing romance. That's not the kind of stories I want to write. I write grim, dark fantasy. But at the same time, I am a natural with dialogue and romance. And I can tell you as someone who can do that, it doesn't, like, planning isn't really the best thing you can do with that. It's mostly just what feels right should happen. And I bet that's the same with Toriyama when he does it well. But like, I do believe Toriyama when he says that that's not his real forte. I do think that he can easily, like, he's an amazing action mangaka, and he's a good comedy writer. You know, some people don't find Dragon Ball very funny, but like, if you read any of Akira Toriyama's manga theater, there's some actual pretty funny stuff in there. So I think that Krillin and 18 and Gohan and Videl were excellently executed, as you say. And I think that even though Goku and Chi-Chi didn't have like this huge development into a relationship, I thought it was pretty cute the way they got together too. So yeah, I think he has some good things with romance. I just think that if he wrote romance more, we would probably see a lot more bad. I think that's the reason why he steered away from it. Okay. Ghost XM9, do you think characters like Bardock, Raditz, or Nappa could have been brought back to life and joined the Z Fighters? And do you think they could keep up with the other Saiyans in terms of power levels over the course of Z? Yeah, I think they could have. And I think that they probably should have been brought back. Like, maybe not as a main cast member, and not like, you know, I want the humans to get more spotlight, so like, you know, I don't want to crowd more Saiyans in there. But it is very strange that Goku's brother and someone like Nappa was just kind of like one and done and gone. And, you know, there have been plenty of people that have said, like, Raditz should not be brought back. Raditz has served his purpose. And that's true. Raditz did serve his purpose. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he shouldn't be brought back. Like, when Vegeta died on Namek, he served his purpose, in my opinion. But a lot of people are glad that he came back. And, you know, it really depends. As for Bardock, yeah, that'd be cool. I do think that we should have gotten a panel or two of Bardock visiting his family in the other world. That would have been neat. But do I think they could have kept up in terms of power levels? Yes, I do. Because, like, Zenkais are a hell of a drug. Like, if you brought them back and took them to Namek, and it was with that huge sort of, like, Frieza's men versus the Saiyans versus the Earthlings free-for-all, that would have been neat. Okay. This dog 812 asks, thoughts on Goku Black / Zamasu? I think it was a pretty neat arc. Or if you mean the characters. I think that it was fairly well done. I don't hate everything about Super. I think I will say that like another Goku clone didn't necessarily need to be done, but I do think that it was more cleverly made than what it could have been, and it was very dark. And even though it was recycling a bunch of things, like a lot of Super, I will say that the beginning trailers for it, especially in the anime, was very reminiscent of the horror you felt, or that I felt when I was a kid and I saw Trunks talking about the androids. It was very neat. Okay. Nadir bin Slimane 2399. How do you think Toriyama could have made Ki more interesting? By that I mean that most Ki attacks are pretty similar across the board for characters, and there's barely any variety of how Ki is used. There are special abilities, hits time freeze or Piccolo's generation, but Ki itself seems a bit two-dimensional. I'll say this much. I think I like the Ki usage in Dragon Ball better than about any other power system in any other series. And that's because it's very intuitive. It's not very complicated. Now, do I think he could have made it more interesting? Maybe. But at the same time, there are plenty of attacks that don't go with the normal Ki attack, like the Wolf Fang Fist, and like you said, hits time freeze, and freezes exploding ball when he ensconced Goku in that sphere. And let's see, the solar flare, that's not a usual Ki move. He could have been more creative with it, I'll say that much. But I do like that he kept it very traditional when it came to the philosophy of Ki. And I think the anime does a great job of expanding upon that, because in the anime, let's go with Tien versus Yamcha in the 22nd tournament. Tien did the Shaolin Iron Body move, which blocked Yamcha's second Wolf Fang Fist attack. And, that's an actual thing in Shaolin Kung Fu. And that was definitely something he utilized Ki for. And, I think that Toei did a good job of adding in bits to make it more interesting. But no, I probably wouldn't want it to have something more complicated like Naruto's or Hunter x Hunter's or something like that. Even though I do quite enjoy Hunter x Hunter, and I like Naruto and Bleach and stuff like that. I kind of like that. It was sort of Dragon Balls was kind of closer to Yu Yu Hakusho, and that's why they're both my favorite, or it's one of the reasons. It's simple, but it's raw. It's cool. Okay, let's see. Hey, it's Paleo, my boy. Paleo Mario 6684 asks, top 5 Tien Shinhan moments. Yes, okay. Paleo and I are both Tien enjoyers. Top 5 moments, man. Okay, one is when Tien went to go face King Piccolo alone because he thought that Goku was dead. Master Roshi was dead, Chaozu was dead, Yamcha was still hurt, there was only him as a fighter, and Krillin was dead, and so he went to face King Piccolo alone. He practiced the Mafabu, or Evil Containment Wave, for hours after the trauma of seeing his friends dead, and then when he got there and he realized that the rice cooker he was going to put King Piccolo in was damaged and he couldn't use it, he still was oh well, I will now face this demon alone. And he goes down there and he faces King Piccolo knowing he can't win. That was a fucking badass moment. Another one was Tien beating the Cybermen in 2 moves. It was a technique, a dodge, and a strike, and the Cyberman was down. Even when you got too close to planet-destroying power, he was just a pure, just smooth martial arts moves, and just took down that alien monster that quick. Let's see. I think another great moment is Tien showcasing the multiform technique, something that is just completely out of left field. That was amazing. And I will say one moment that I did like that a lot of people don't like, and I know that you don't like either, is, meaning Paleo, was when Tien Shinhan said that he would rather fight the androids than use the Dragon Balls to find out Gero. On the one hand, I agree with you because I think it's kind of dumb because, I mean, it's better to destroy the threat before it shows up. But on the other hand, as a Tien fan, I was like, that's badass. Like that's, like he's confident enough. Like he's just seen Super Saiyan Goku and Super Saiyan Trunks throw hands, or at least throw a sword and a finger. And he's just seen Trunks just decimate Mecha Frieza and King Cold. And he's just like, androids that can destroy Super Saiyans? Fucking bring them on. Like, and then he proves that he can destroy them, which is insane. Like that's a cool moment, even if it's not the smart thing to do. And people are always like, oh, what's Tien gonna do? It's just like, dude, if Tien thinks he can do it, then there's a reason the character thinks that. He doesn't have to be stupid. It's the same thing with Vegeta and Goku. And like Piccolo was probably on board with it too. He didn't say anything, but he didn't say no either. Do you think if Piccolo thought Bulma's idea was good, that Piccolo would have stayed quiet? No. So there's a number of people that want to do it, but Tien speaking up was neat. And of course, last but not least, is Tien's Tri-Beam or Kikoho or Neo Tri-Beam Shinku Kikoho against Semi-Perfect Cell. That still gives me goosebumps when I see it. And I like it because I liked both the anime and the manga versions. In the anime, Semi-Perfect Cell is about to absorb 18, and then he sees someone in the air. He's like, what is that? And then he looks up, and he's just like, oh, what are you going to do, Tien? And Tien just completely shatters any expectations and beats him to the ground. But in the manga, it was good for another reason. In the manga, Semi-Perfect Cell or Second Form Cell was about to absorb 18, and he doesn't like there's more emphasis on the key output that Tien is now emitting. Like he senses this monstrous key right above him, and he's like, holy shit, who the fuck is that? And before Semi-Perfect Cell can even say, oh shit, Tien just hits him with the key equivalent of a sledgehammer. Like he senses the key and he already feels fear, and then he gets hit by it, which is different from him seeing or sensing Tien, being like, what are you going to do? And then getting hit by it and having his expectations shattered. Both are good. Both are pretty cool. And that's obviously probably my top moment. Okay, Chef in a Bottle asks, if you got the opportunity to change a part of the story you find lacking, what would you do and why? Whew, man. I find lacking. There are things in Dragon Ball I might be curious to change, but I don't know if there's anything that's really lacking. Other than, I guess, I'd like the humans to fight more, and then I'd like more usage of more intelligent uses of techniques. But, I don't know if I would add certain things. Like, maybe if we saw the enemies have more minions that the humans could fight, that would definitely be cool. Or if we saw humans pull out better moves, or... I wish I could answer that better, but there are more questions just like yours down below that I'm going to get to that will be more specific. So I think I'll probably answer your question soon. But I don't know if I can give it a good one right now. I apologize. I know I say that. I'm fucking saying that a lot. I hate that. Okay. What's your favorite Dragon Ball game? Ignore my username. Just call me Glasgow Spark. Nice. I've actually visited Glasgow. Good city. My favorite Dragon Ball game? I'm going to go out in left field and say Burst Limit. I fucking love Burst Limit. It has a great opening. It's a banger of a game. And yeah, it doesn't... And it has everything I want out of a Dragon Ball game, really. Like, I'd like to replay Burst Limit. I just beat Fighter Z, or Fighters, whatever you want to call it, a few months ago again. Man, I think Burst Limit's probably my favorite. Tactical Dachshund 2734. I recognize you, boy. Also, I have a Dachshund as well. Very good. Do you think Vegeta had a better character development than anyone else in Dragon Ball Z? This is one. Well, I'm gonna make people get mad. I don't think he even had good character development. Okay. There were parts of his character development that were good, but I think his character development was maybe like fifth in line. I think Piccolo had the best character development. I think Tien had the second best character development. And I think both of them had... Their development was on a much more realistic timetable and more realistically done. I think Vegeta's character development is... People always focus on it because it lasted the entirety of the time he was on screen. But that doesn't necessarily make it good. That's just kind of someone taking 12 years to not be a genocidal maniac. Now, I'm not saying Vegeta's character development was necessarily bad. I just don't think it was really great. I will say that I think Vegeta's character development from the Saiyan saga to his death on Namek was quite good. And realistic. I think that Vegeta's development after that, though, was... like, okay sometimes and lackluster other times. He regressed a couple of times. So it just... The reason why people love it so much is because it takes a long time, is his development, and he's a very popular character. And I'm not saying he shouldn't be a popular character, but, like, I would not say that his is the best. I think Piccolo's is much better. I think his with Gohan and Goku, because Piccolo also cites Goku as a reason why he developed. Goku and Gohan's influence was big on him, and it was very heartwarming. Tien's was very ideological and very neat, and you saw it in real time. I think Goku has good character development. He's the same character throughout. I mean, we all love Goku, and we all know Goku, but like he has different views on morality as time goes on. He goes from someone who's, I'm going to kill the bad guy, and he like destroys like 80 Red Ribbon Army troops, to wanting to keep a villain alive to fight them again, to wanting to keep a villain alive because he doesn't want to kill them. And then even after that, he realizes, like in the Cell arc and the Boo arc, that, you know what? Some villains should just die. And like I think that's a neat sort of development. So yeah, I don't think Vegeta has the best character development. But I will say there are some times when I did enjoy it. I did like his death with Frieza. I thought that was a good moment. And I did like Vegeta. I actually thought it was neat that he regressed into Majin. So yeah, I think he had some good moments, but at the same time, like, do I think it was the best? No. I think people just kind of convinced themselves it is. Okay. Pedro over 9000. Hey, good username. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta versus Base Cabba. Who wins? This meme has been going around recently. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, definitely. The meme is that Cabba wins, but I think it's Gogeta. Kinmondrustcon. How many timelines are there in Dragon Ball Z? I'm not the best at timelines. Clearin or Dave would be better than me saying it, especially without any prior research, but there are 7 Dragon Ball timelines if you include Super, and there should be 4 in Dragon Ball Z. There's the main timeline with, the regular one that we all see. There's Future Trunks' timeline. Then there is Cell's timeline. And then in Cell's timeline, his Trunks goes back to a 4th timeline to get blueprints, and then goes back to Cell's timeline and uses those blueprints to shut down the androids and destroy them, which is why Cell had to go to the main timeline, because there were no more androids in his. So those are the 4 timelines in Dragon Ball Z. Okay. Mr. GB, can Gogeta Super Saiyan 4 beat Base Cap? Another one. As I said, yes, he can. Okay, let's see. Jefe495, or maybe Hefe. I apologize. Let's see. What are some of the biggest misconceptions of Dragon Ball that most people get wrong? I think I've spent most of my Dragon Ball info videos on this channel sort of answering that question. Yamcha explicitly being a cheater is one of them. Tien's Tri-Beam not being that devastating is another. Incorrectly calling the Ascended Super Saiyan, Ultra Super Saiyan, and Master Super Saiyan forms. Biggest misconceptions beyond that. I mean, I know there are a bunch more, because like I get annoyed with misconceptions a bunch, actually. But I don't know if I can think of a bunch right now. You'll definitely hear more in videos, though. You also asked a number of questions. I guess I can answer them. If you had any characters that could either shine more through the series or rework entirely, who would it be? Yamcha, probably. I'd rework Vegeta a little bit. Chaozu, maybe. Roshi, a little bit. I guess I should answer more specifically. I would have Yamcha and Chaozu shine more. I'd change a little bit about Vegeta, and I'd maybe change a little bit, but also have Roshi shine more as well. What would I change about Vegeta? Probably the character development a little bit. What would I change about Roshi? Probably the molesting part. I mean, I'll say this much. I'm an old school anime fan. I don't really get, like, creeped out from seeing Roshi doing that because I understand it's a gag and slapstick. And, like, I've grown up when that is the norm in anime. So, like, and at the same time, as I said in my Yamcha video with morals, like, if we're going to allow, like, assassins and demon kings and genocidal maniacs to be part of the group, like, I'm not going to draw the line at, like, what Roshi's done, even if all of them are horrible. But, I do think when Roshi does it, it's a bit heavy-handed, even for something that's supposed to be comedy. So yeah, but I also don't, I don't think it's the biggest deal. I'm not like, ugh, oh no, my problematic fave. I'm just like, well, they're all heavily flawed. But it's fiction, so it doesn't really matter too much. Do you feel like the Earthling fighters should get something akin to a Zenkai booster anyway to make catch up more to speed with the current powerhouses in Dragon Ball? Yes, I would, and that's one reason why I think Dragon Ball Super failed, because they had the perfect opportunity to do that, and they did not do it. In some of the fan fictions I am writing and am going to write, I'm going to try to do that myself. What transformations, not exclusively to Saiyans, are the most unique to you? Most unique. I think Goku drinking the sacred water in Korn's Lookout was very unique. Even though he didn't look much different himself, he did have that aura of the Ozaru, and it was very wuxia sort of based, which was pretty neat. I think that the Super Saiyan itself is a very iconic and good transformation. I think, while I don't really like Super Saiyan 3 a ton, I do think it's a very unique transformation. And, I'm not the biggest fan of Orange Piccolo, but I do think that I'm very glad that Piccolo got a transformation. And I fucking love the design of Beast Gohan. I think that's a very unique design. So I quite like that as well. Okay. Terminally Chill, my boy, one of my patrons as well, is cooler? Actually, yeah, I think Cooler is kind of cooler than Frieza. I know that's not the exact question, but yeah, I do. Even though I think Frieza's the best villain. I think Frieza's a better villain, but I think Cooler is specifically made to be more badass. Okay, Curtis K. Fisher. Curtis K. Fisher. Thoughts on the magic in Dragon Ball from OG throughout Z, like the stuff Fortune Teller Baba does and how it differs from Babidi's magic? There is a lot of magic in Dragon Ball that we kind of take for granted, and it was more in OG, but Babidi and Boo himself does a bunch of magic, and that is something that people have asked me to make a Dragon Ball info video on magic, but I would not, I might at some point, but I would not be able to put it down to a roughly structured system like I can with Ki. Toriyama is very willy-nilly with magic, but the thing is that like he does it in a way where it's explained so little that it's almost not even, it's almost good. It's almost not even able to be contradictory because it's so little explained. But I do think, I guess when it comes to Babidi versus Fortune Teller Baba seems more like a regular magician that views the occult, whereas Babidi has sort of primordial dark magic that has a very alien sort of design to it, because he is an alien. And I think Toriyama did a good job of making it to where different species have a different understanding of magic. I wish I could give my thoughts better on that. I apologize. Hadrian Weir 2191. I'm so sorry, bro. Like I said, y'all should have typed your names out. How many bees do you think Goku could fit in his mouth? 200. Frieza's son. Well, actually, no. Probably like 1,000 with the way his mouth expands. How did Vegeta retain his voice and control as a candy? Asks Frieza-sama 5802. I know Frieza-sama. What's up, boy? The way magic and ki and even psychic energy works in Dragon Ball is that strength and ki overpowers everything. And so, like the only time when that was not the case was with Boss Rabbit, but it likely would have been the case if, I don't know if Boss Rabbit could have turned Frieza into a carrot, right? But I think that, like when Chaozu used his psychic abilities on Krillin, he hurt his stomach in the 22nd tournament match, right? And then he tried to do it again with Nappa, and it didn't work because Nappa was just that much stronger. But it shouldn't matter, right? Because it's psychic energy. It has nothing to do with ki. But Nappa was just so much stronger that the ki made it matter. And I think that's the same with Vegeta retaining his voice and control as candy. He's just so much stronger than Bootinks at the time that it did not, his magic did not have the strength to take everything away from him. Okay, Matt Hauscher 9184. Apologies if I'm butchering that name too. Who's your favorite all-time character and why? Tien. Tien is my favorite. Tien Shinhan's my favorite character. He is, I love his design. He has the most badass design. I think he's the most classic, sort of like Chinese hero. I think that he has great character development. I think that he has the best fights in the entire series. And I think that he also did the best job out of all of the non-Saiyans and Namekians to stay in the fight. And I think that everything he does is just cool, in my opinion. Okay, that guy, W8X, do you hate Yamcha? No, I like Yamcha a bit. Why would you ask me if I hate Yamcha? I've made a video fully defending Yamcha, saying that, he's not a cheater. I mean, I didn't make it to defend him. I made it to find the truth of it. But, people, the reason why I made it is because people were annoying me at just saying, of course he cheated, when, you really need to look at it more closely to actually find out. But I quite like Yamcha a bit. In fact, he's one of my favorite characters. He's definitely my top 5. Brian Chun 7367 asks, choose one to watch happen. Piccolo versus Vegetable. Guess Vegeta. Namek or Cell Arc. Goku versus Mecha Frieza and King Cold. Damn. Oh, why would I have to choose that? I want to see both. Jeez. Or all 3, really. I guess if I had to choose, it would be Piccolo versus Vegeta in the Cell arc. Because in Namek, it would be less plausible, because there's Frieza right there. And even though I super want to see Goku versus Mecha Frieza and King Cold, I really want to see that. I also think that Future Trunks' introduction was the coolest entrance in all of fiction. So, and I don't want to take that away from him. So I'll say Piccolo versus Vegeta in the Cell arc. Okay, JP Calc the Silver Spooner 975, I recognize you, Hey Poohhead, what are your favorite, least favorite, and most thought about arcs of Dragon Ball? I find that I like the Red Ribbon arc the most and the Android arc the least, but that I end up thinking about the Boo arc more than either of them. Not just what happened in the Boo arc either, but my mental image of Dragon Ball is the Boo arc, the big... Oh, he wants me to call him the biggest black man ever. Alright, sorry, I shouldn't say your name. Alright, this is what the biggest black man ever asks. Okay, that is super relatable, actually. I think my favorite arc in Dragon Ball is either the 22nd tournament, or the Saiyan saga. But I think about the Namek and Android arcs the most, I think. Because that's where a lot of the biggest debates are, and misconceptions, especially the Android arc. But I also just like the Namek arc because it's just such a free-for-all, which is a cool thing. But I think Saiyan or 22nd Tournament arcs are my favorite. But I completely get what you mean, dude. Okay, Super Saiyan Kids save Cosmo 08. Super Saiyan Kids save Cosmo 08. Sorry. What's your favorite arc from each series? Oh, well, I guess I said it. 22nd Tournament and for Dragon Ball and Saiyan Saga for Dragon Ball Z. I guess I'll expand on that a little bit. 22nd Tournament, I think, has the best fights, especially in the anime. But, like, Tien, all of Tien's fights are amazing. I think Yamcha versus Tien, like I said in my Wolfang Fist video, is the best fight in the anime. I think Yamcha versus Master Roshi or Jackie Chun is an amazing fight. And I think that Goku versus Tien was pretty cool, too. I like Goku versus Krillin in that arc a lot. Krillin versus Chaozu was pretty good. It was such a good tournament. And even Roshi with Manwolf, and Goku versus Ponput. One was actually pretty fucking funny, and the other was just impressive. It just showed how far Goku had come. So I think that's just a great, great arc for Dragon Ball. Saiyan Saga I liked a lot because it gave us one of the coolest 2v1... Well, we need more 2v1 fights in general, but I love the Piccolo and Goku versus Raditz fight. I liked the introduction of the Saiyans in general, and I like it introducing the Kaioken technique, and I also think that the human fighters going against the Cybermen and Nappa were pretty cool. So yeah, that's definitely it. And if I had to watch it, it would be with the Ocean dub for Saiyan Saga. Okay. Who is the hottest waifu? Oh, now we're getting into it. Alright. I think a few of them are pretty fucking hot. I think that Android 21 is super sexy. I think that Chi-Chi in the 23rd tournament is super cute. But I have to say the hottest girl in the regular Dragon Ball manga? Probably Bulma. I have to say Bulma. Yeah, I think that, all the different outfits, her personality. I mean, okay, her personality is very flawed, but I'm not wanting to date her in real life, but I think that she's just really hot. And I wish she wore that Arabian outfit later on too. Also, I think I should have said IDK FJ8IS asked this question. Android 18's pretty attractive as well. And I think Launch is very cute. In fact, I'm going to write a fanfiction on Yamcha with Launch at the beginning of Dragon Ball if Goku and Bulma never showed up, actually. But I do think that Bulma's the hottest one, yeah. Okay. Mushram Bokiniku 49000 asks, do you like the ending of the original manga? Yeah, I guess I would say I do. I don't know if it's definitely not my favorite part of the series, and I think that other endings of certain sagas were better, but I also like the whole the adventure continues kind of thing. So yeah, I'll say it is. GT or Super, which is better in your opinion and why? I think they're both close to each other in terms of how good they are, but I would have to kind of give it to GT because I think GT works better with the Toei animation stuff. And I also think that, how do I put this? I like what GT did to the fandom better than what Super did to the fandom. But that's not to say that I hate all of Super or anything like that. But I would say probably GT. And I also like the fact that GT had an arc where, like, abusing the Dragon Balls had consequences. And Digital Logos asked me that. Sorry, I need to get better at that. Okay. Gemini 3754, I recognize you. Boy. What makes Dragon Ball appealing to you from a storytelling perspective? For me, it's the constantly escalating threats and Toriyama-sensei's use of creative plot devices like the titular Dragon Ball Senzu capsule and his use of cliffhangers, and red herrings, and MacGuffins. I think those are good reasons. What makes it appealing to me from a storytelling perspective? The problem with that, and that's a good question, but the problem with me answering that very well is that when I first became a fan of Dragon Ball, I was young enough to where it has shaped me rather than me having been shaped and then finding something that worked with me, you know? So it's very hard to say because I can say a number of things about Dragon Ball, but then at the end of the day, I would say that because Dragon Ball does it rather than me. I would like it because that was what Dragon Ball did rather than me liking it and then Dragon Ball did it. You know what I mean? I think it's just I think if I had to say, it'd be the juxtaposition of lightheartedness and dark, and how all the characters are very colorful and lovable, but it's contrasted by very badass and seriousness as well. I really wish I could answer that better, but Dragon Ball. I could answer that much better if you were asking me about like a book series or something. But with Dragon Ball, like, it's so ingrained in me, it's hard to say. Balrog TF3BG, I recognize you. Would you ever consider doing a what if based around if Raditz somehow landed in my own unique world universe? I'm still fleshing it out, but I've been building the lore for the last 10 years. I will say I don't plan on ever doing a what if for my channel because so many other people have done it, and I was never interested in watching their stuff, really. I never really liked what ifs when it came to at least the visual setting. Maybe in a fanfiction, but not that. Although I will say that I want to wish you good luck, because as someone who's been writing for like that long and world building that long, I know what it's like, and I wish you the best of luck, dude, because if that's something you're passionate about, do it. As a fellow writer, I salute you. Okay. Hungarian Warhorse asks, if Piccolo learned the Kaioken from King Kai, could he have beaten Cell and the androids while Goku was sick? Would that also doom the planet when Buu showed up because Gohan wouldn't have discovered Super Saiyan 2? So King Kai actually did the big brain move by not teaching Piccolo? I mean, you could say that if character had done X or Y, then could they have beaten something, and then that would have also led to other things. You could say that with a bunch of things, really. And there also is the problem with, like, let's go with Goku and Vegeta, like a little bit later in the Cell arc. You know, Vegeta was Ascended Super Saiyan and could go Ultra Super Saiyan. He just knew the detriments of that. But Goku could go Master Super Saiyan. Master Super Saiyan apparently does not have an increased multiplier, whereas Ascended Super Saiyan does. Yet Goku still thought better of it to not do that when fighting Cell. So, like, apparently the power difference wasn't good enough for the energy expenditure, so maybe that would be the same thing for Piccolo. But also, if Piccolo could have taken 17 out with a Kaioken technique, then that would have hamstrung Cell completely. But at the same time, like, you know, if you play Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Future Trunks defeats, you know, Buu, and I don't think he goes anything beyond Super Saiyan 2. So, but he gained Super Saiyan 2 without needing to gain it through Cell himself. So, like, maybe they could have pulled off a win against Buu as well if Piccolo did that. I'm not entirely sure. That's the thing. It's hard to say. Okay. Jonah's Champ 9894 asks, he edited, let's see. Oh, this is a big question. Jeez, boy. I'm running out of breath here. This is hard to condense, but I will try my best. Do you think that as a narrative, Dragon Ball would be better to have ended after the Cell Saga from a story perspective? Let's see. I think I'll read all of it aloud to save my breath, but let me read it. I'll say this much. I do think that even though I'm glad the Buu Saga's around, I do think the ending of the Cell arc was better than the ending of the Buu arc. I'll say that. Okay, so what's my personal headcanon? I'm not entirely certain. I don't know what you mean with my personal headcanon when it comes to that, unless you mean like what would occur if... I'm sorry, I don't get it. I apologize. P.S. If you still don't mind, I'm still going to private message you about publishing advice. Of course, yeah, I'd love to help. I'm close to finishing, but we'll talk to you soon if still okay. Yes, it is. Thank you so much for being so cool and open to giving advice. Hey, no problem. PPS, you're a Dragon Ball fan that is logical, analytical, and you make vids in the crusty flakes of the show. Crusty flakes. You may never be one of the biggest TV channels, but with content, the likes that you've been making, you will always steadily grow. I appreciate that, dude. I really do. You appeal to the sensible, unemotional hardcores. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm very passionate about Dragon Ball, but at the same time, like, people treat Dragon Ball like it's very dumbed down when, like, I mean, certainly it's not extremely complicated. Like, you know, Toriyama wasn't, like, some 4D chess genius, but, you know, there's more to it than meets the eye, and people need to be accurate if they want to talk about it. So, yeah, I agree. Thank you. Okay. Kinmon Drustcon. Oh, another one from you. Do you fuck with the DBZ movies? Which one is your favorite? Oh, yeah, dude. I love the 13Z movies. My favorite is World's Strongest, movie 2. It has the best action. It has a very unique villain, unique minions. And actually, in the combat, they're double the frames per second than usual. And you can really tell. My three, like, Dead Zone, World's Strongest, and Tree of Might are my favorites. And out of those, World's Strongest is my favorite of that. I like the others as well, though. How do you feel about the concept of Super Saiyan God? I think it's okay. I remember going to theaters and seeing it and was excited. But I kind of don't like the God key because, you know, they went back and forth and they were like, oh, this key is different. You can never achieve this through training. Oh, but now you can achieve it through training. And it's just like, well, all right. I think I'll say this much. I think the red Super Saiyan God should have just been called Saiyan God. And then the blue Super Saiyan should have been called Super Saiyan God. I'll say that much. Okay. Which is better written, GT or Super? No movies, anime only. GT, like I said. Although I will say there are parts of Super that I do legitimately like. I like the Universe 6 versus 7 tournament. I think Hit is a great character. I liked parts of the Universal Tournament Saga. I think some stuff with Goku Black and Zamasu was cool. I love that we got to see Future Trunks in a Super Saiyan 2 form. And that was asked by blank 6214. And also about the Super Saiyan God, Wallaby Winters asked me. I should have said that. I apologize. Totin Tens 2440. He's one of my patrons too. Hey, buddy. Who do you think is the best human fighter in Z, pound for pound? All right. Now, I'm going to, let's see. Tien, I think. Now, someone replied to you and said, it's Krillin, it's not an opinion, we've known this for ages, and you can even skip the pound for pound part. This is, okay. Clearin and I, my friend Clearin and I, have argued who's stronger, Tien or Krillin, for ages. And I am pretty certain it's Tien, he's pretty certain it's Krillin. And full disclosure, Tien's my favorite character, as you know. Krillin is one of his top 2 favorite characters besides Gohan. But at the same time, when we've argued, I don't think either of us have our opinions because we're biased, like because we like the characters. But to say it's Krillin, it's not an opinion. We've known this for ages. Like, I'm sorry, Scorpy666, but okay. I'm not going to get into this big, but like, let me give you the cliff notes real quick. There's two reasons. There are two statements of why people think Krillin is the strongest human. The first statement is when Yamcha comforts young Marin on her being very sad and scared that her father is about to fight in a tournament. And he says, like, hey, man, he's the strongest in the world. I would not want to fight him. Clearly, that's probably him just comforting his daughter, comforting Krillin's daughter. Two, people always say that Toriyama stated that Krillin is the strongest human as well. Toriyama actually never did state that. That was in a 2004 interview, and the interviewer says that. Toriyama just goes, ha, yes, to that, and then goes like, I wanted to give Krillin something good because he usually gets the short end of the stick. So Toriyama never actually utters the words, Krillin is the strongest human. Now, you could obviously construe him agreeing with that as just being like, well, that's an admission right there. But at the same time, that was in 2004. It was after the series was done. And so we don't know when. So even if you say that that's true, we don't know when in the series he means. We don't know. Does that include Oob as well? Is Krillin stronger than like Majin Buu now? So like people take, as I've said plenty of times, people take statements way, way too seriously. There are some statements that should be taken at face value because they make sense. And other statements which are iffy, but yeah. Now, okay, those are the two reasons people think that Krillin is the strongest. Now, the reason why people think Tien is the strongest is because it's logical. I don't know how else to put it other than that. Like, he just has better feats. There's, like, the Daizenshu itself says that Tien it doesn't have full human ancestry. And so, at the same time, he might not be a human. In fact, I think if Krillin is the strongest human, then that just proves that Tien is not human. And you might think that that means that I just get my cake and eat it too, but I don't like that. I want him to be human. I want Tien to be a fucking human. I think that makes him much cooler. I like him having that third eye because it showcases enlightenment rather than just some weird, like, racial trait like a Saiyan or a Namekian gets. I would rather Tien just be human, but if Krillin is the strongest human, then I think that that just means Tien isn't like a full human. And, I might make a Dragon Ball dive about this at some point to really get into it because it's just, like I said, the Cliff Notes. But I would have to say Tien. But that also sucks because, like, I wish Yamcha and Chaozu were also considered in that running too. But yeah, I think Tien Shinhan is the strongest one. And the best. Like, you said best, so not even just strongest. Like, even if Krillin was the strongest, which I don't think he is, Tien was definitely the most skilled. So, best human fighter in Z pound for pound, I think Tien all across the board. Even though Krillin is quite talented, I will not say he's not. Okay, how would you rewrite Dragon Ball? Fill the plot holes, fix power levels and power scaling, better the story of characters, etc. Oh, dude, that's a huge... Also, I recognize you, dude. What's up? Cac Perez 1806. I apologize. Like I said, y'all should have told me how to say your names. How would I rewrite Dragon Ball? A part of me wants to not change anything at all because it's my favorite series ever, and I really don't want to change almost anything. But another part of me thinks that it would be neat to see different things change. I would have loved to have seen Goku face Mecha Frieza and King Cold. I actually think that it might have been better if Vegeta's death on Namek was permanent, too. I think that Vegeta... I mean, that would have taken away a bunch of cool moments, because I think Vegeta has some badass moments later on. But, like, I think that was, like, thematically and aesthetically just the best... Like, his death had backstory, he had regret, he was actually tearing up. he was giving the mantle to Goku to save the Saiyan race. Like, there was so much symbolism. I kind of wish I think that would have probably been the best thing to do there. For plot holes, I think I would have taken away some of the Boo arc's plot holes. I would have taken away some contradictory statements, like Piccolo says, like, hey, everyone, don't show up to the android fight if you are not ready to fight, which implies they'd be stronger than Frieza. But then when they get there, Tien and Krillin are both like, dude, these guys are stronger than Frieza. And it's just like, where are these statements? Like there's more than a few statements. This is one reason why I think feats should be used more than statements. Or more than they are, and that statements should be used slightly less, is because there's a bunch of contradictory statements everywhere. Power scaling definitely should have been better. The story for the characters, and if Vegeta stayed dead, then maybe future Gohan would have come back, and he would have killed Mecha Frieza and King Cold. And maybe, Yamcha and Bulma get together and have a kid of their own. Tien maybe gets with Lunch. I don't know. I kind of like Tien without anyone, though. I would have liked to have seen Raditz again. Like, maybe Goku goes to the other world and has to find out more about his Saiyan heritage. So he asks Raditz and Bardock. Rather than, I don't know, like, just to find out a legend about it, because if Vegeta's dead, he can't ask any more questions about Saiyans, so he has to do that. Man, I could spend all night on this. I don't think I should, but sorry, I can't get. That's a huge question. I hope I gave a somewhat satisfactory answer. I'll probably make. Man, if I have more thoughts, I'll tell you. How about that? Okay. Excel 2040 asks, which is cooler, mastered or unmastered Super Saiyan? Unmastered Super Saiyan, definitely. I like Mastered Super Saiyan, but I think the coolest the Super Saiyan ever looked was when Goku and Future Trunks. Goku in his Jar Jar outfit and Future Trunks, and they both had that fiery aura. I think that was the coolest Super Saiyan ever looked. It's definitely my favorite. Okay, that looks to be everybody, I think. Did I really go through like 60 questions? Damn, I guess I did. Okay. I hope I didn't give non-answers to a bunch of questions. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You'll probably definitely disagree with me on a few things, but still, I'm glad that you guys had all these questions for me. And next time, I will let you just ask me random questions if you'd like. But for now, hope this is satisfactory. Thank you to my patrons. I now have 7 patrons on Patreon. It's super cool talking to them, and they've been offering to help out in other ways too. That's really neat. But I will also say thank you to everyone who asked me a question here, and thank you to some of my friends showing up to do it as well. It's super humbling to have all these questions and to have people liking, sharing, and subscribing to a bunch of my things. I bet I'll have 2,000 subscribers within a day or two. Like, it's happening pretty quickly, and thank you guys. It's super, super neat. And also, they just announced Kamea-Con is coming to New Jersey next year. I went every year before COVID, and I think I'm going to start going back again. So if you guys go into Kamea-Con, I'll be there probably, or almost definitely. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Please like and comment on this video if you care to. Give me your opinions. And thanks so much. And if you want to give a few extra bucks to the Patreon, there'll be a link in the description below. All right, guys. Thank you so much for all these questions. I appreciate all of you. All right. See ya.